In today's video, we're going to be discussing some of the more common compliment pulling fragrances that are talked about, all over the place, right? They're known for getting compliments and good reactions, and we're going to basically have them ranked in terms of performance here. So starting off at the beginning of the video, we're going to be going for the least performing, and we'll work our way up to the best performing ones. This is just to help kind of give you a rough general idea of where these stand in terms of general, performance metrics in terms of longevity and projection. A couple of things really quickly. First of all, this is my skin chemistry. That's going to vary from person to person. Some might get better performance out of these. Some might get worse performance out of these. It depends on, again, a number of things in terms of your skin chemistry, environment, the weather, where you're spraying, how you're spraying, and so many factors. The other thing is that at the beginning of the video, starting with the weakest ones, it's not that these are inherently weak, it's just that there are a lot of very strong fragrances in here. And so for these to be down at number 10 and number 9, that's because the ones towards the top of the list are so strong. So nothing in here is, just completely weak. It's just that there's a lot of competition here. So starting off with number 10, we have Mont Blanc Explorer, one of the more designer level mainstream Creed Aventus clones. Now, this one is very popular because of that reason, right? There are so many Aventus clones. This one got popular because it's a Mont Blanc. It's a big designer brand, and it's ones that you can buy in stores. You can go to Macy's, Sephora, Ulta, any big name retailer and purchase it at full retail, which I don't recommend doing, okay? But that is an option. You could also just go into these stores and smell it, right? Kind of get an idea of what it smells like before you decide to purchase a full bottle. So I've never really gotten the best performance out of Mont Blanc Explorer. It's just, one that has never done all that well on me here. Also, a better option would be, Armaf Club de Nuit Intense Man, EDP, or Parfum. Those are significantly better performing than something like Mont Blanc Explorer. So again, it's not that this one is just completely weak, but there are stronger Aventus clones out there. For some that might equal a better option if you're prioritizing performance. But this one's still a great smelling scent. It gets that DNA down pretty well with some variances. It's kind of a little bit more light, a little bit more watery in that type of sense. Doesn't have the same type of richness that Aventus has and that even some of the other clones have. But nonetheless, for around $50 on discounters, it's a good scent. All right, moving into number 9, a new one from Michael Kors that kind of got relatively well known off the rip. I don't know, they don't put out a ton of scents anymore. They've released some amazing fragrances over the years, but they've discontinued a lot of them, and they don't really have a ton to go off of. But this one is just the new Michael Kors Pour Homme. I think one thing that's really helping them out here is the bottle presentation. Kind of has that heavy chain look to it, chain link, whatever you want to call it. Looks like a big old bracelet. Pretty cool looking, right? Gives it this kind of flashy look. The bottle itself, it just has a cool feel because of that, which again, I think that marketing stance there really would help this one out a little bit. This one is basically all about the citrus and the musk and the woods. It's a really pretty simple fragrance, both on paper and just when you smell it. This is something that you've likely smelled before in some fashion. It's a common type of smell, a citrusy, fresh scent for men. It's clean, it's a little bit soapy, but again, musky and slightly woody as well. It's not one of anything, meaning it's not just a straight up citrus scent, it's not a straight up woody scent, it's not a straight up aquatic scent or anything. It's just kind of combining several different categories or styles, I guess, into one. And then ultimately that creates a very mass-pleasing fragrance, which is why it's in this video, because it is a big compliment puller. There's no denying that people love the smell of this one. And it makes sense, right? It's just, it smells good. Is it the most unique thing? Definitely not, but it smells really nice. And this one performs decent, a little bit better than Mont Blanc Explorer on my skin. We're still not talking anything majorly beast mode, but at the same time, it actually performs better than what I was anticipating it to do so, which is nice, especially because really on discounters, it's at a pretty good price. So it's kind of cool that you can get this one without spending a lot of money, and it actually performs not too bad. Moving on to this next one here, we have Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, a true classic, a true OG fragrance here. It's got mint and tonka bean, a little bit of orange off the top as well. So opens up a little bit bright and green, but pretty much immediately transitions transitions into a more of a powdery, smoother, sweeter type of scent where that tonka bean really starts to come into play. This smells amazing, and it actually, especially in terms of projection, does pretty well. Longevity is decent. It's not the best, right? Again, we're kind of towards the bottom of the video here, but where this one makes up for that somewhat lack of longevity, like I mentioned, is the projection, because within the first few hours of you spraying this one, it really pushes out. And that's why this one got so popular to begin with. One, it's a Chanel. Two, it's a Chanel Allure Homme flanker. There's already a lot of built-in hype, but it's that compliment factor, sexiness that it has, mixed with the fact that for the first couple hours, man, it's radiating, you know, it's pushing out pretty good. And especially if it's a little bit warmer outside and your body temperature itself is a little bit on the warmer side, not necessarily straight up sweating, but you are being somewhat active, this one just turns into, you know, a projection beast. So this one really has the potential to get you noticed in a good way, and it'll really push out and turn heads and get attention. Now it's an eau de parfum these days, but back in the day, it was an eau de toilette concentré, which is actually what this is. I've got several of the old bottles. I don't know if you can see it. EDT concentré. In terms of performance, not really a ton of a difference. You could still find these here and there floating around on eBay and stuff, but probably doesn't make sense to do that. I have a bottle of the new EDP as well, and it still performs in the same type of fashion here. A nice projection and decent longevity. Not as good as what people would want when you're spending this amount of money, but to me, everything else about it, the scent, that projection, just the quality, it makes up for that. Moving on to the next one, we have Gentleman Reserve Privé by Givenchy. Seems kind of low on the list, but man, I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of beast mode performers that are really coming up, and this one is kind of in that category. It's got the chestnut, the whiskey, and the iris, you know, and there's some tonka bean and stuff in here too, but it's that Gentleman Eau de Parfum DNA, that vanilla iris, black pepper mixed with the chestnut and the whiskey. Gives it this kind of nutty gourmand smell, and of course a bit of a bright boozy pop off the opening. This one was like a dream come true to me back when they first released it. You know, Gentleman EDP is one I've loved pretty much ever since I got it, and I think ever since it first came out, which I think was in 2017. So right around the time I was getting into this, it was just an immediate love for me. And having something that just takes that existing DNA, they don't alter it too much, but they do amp it up a little bit. I loved it, right? And so, big fan of this one. Performs really, really good. It's still an eau de parfum concentration, so they didn't step this up to a parfum or anything, but again, it does perform a little bit better than that EDP, and just overall is a great scent from start to finish. All right, this next one from Armani is actually Acqua di Gio Parfum. So, you know, it's obviously a parfum. This is taking place of Acqua di Gio Profumo. So you're getting the sea notes, the aquatic notes that Acqua di Gio is known for, with a little bit of a patchouli incense slash olibanum smell here. So they took out the incense and put in olibanum is what I'm gathering from the note breakdown. Although you still get a smokiness, you still get the patchouli, you still get Acqua di Gio Profumo, right? To me, they changed one of the notes or maybe a couple of the notes, but the scent is still pretty much exactly the same. It even still has a little bit of that grassy green opening, although that was smoothed out a little bit in this version. And that part was kind of a love-hate relationship for people with Acqua di Gio Profumo, that green kind of stringent opening that Profumo especially had. Again, they improved upon that a little bit here, which a lot of people, including myself, are okay with. This scent DNA has been a signature scent of mine for so many years, and I've always gotten great performance out of Profumo. Again, that one's also a parfum concentration. It's always had great longevity, always had actually pretty solid projection, more so in the beginning. Later on, after probably a good 4 or 5 hours, you know, that projection would die down quite a bit. Wouldn't necessarily be a skin scent, but more of a trail type of scent. But within the first few hours of spraying it, it was a monster, and always would last a long time. And this one, no exception. Again, talking basically the same thing here. If you want a versatile aquatic, right, one that can be used in evenings and even in cooler weather, this is it. Moving on, we have Myslf Le Parfum by YSL. Orange blossom, vanilla, amber, and patchouli. So if you've smelled the original EDP with that essentially white floral orange blossom focus, this still has that, adding in some vanilla, making it a little bit sweeter. It's a true parfum in terms of like how it smells. This is kind of how I would expect a parfum, a flanker to be done, where you're still keeping that, you know, existing familiar smell that the eau de parfum or the original had, and you're just reworking it, adding a little bit more of a heaviness, a little bit more of a sweetness, and no matter what form you do it, that's typically how we see parfums go, and this one adhered to that, which is nice, and I'm glad that they did, because I think the original EDP is a pretty solid foundation, right? And I knew, and everybody knew, right, that when we saw that EDP release, the Myslf EDP, we knew that that was just going to pave the way for, you know, probably a dozen flankers over the course of, you know, several years or so, one every year pretty much. And we're kind of on track. We're at 3 total so far, 3 total releases. So they're not going to be stopping, I'm sure. So they had a nice little foundation there to start off with. This one just takes that in a little bit of a sweeter direction. At first, I didn't really like the EDP that much, but it's growing on me now. Still, between the two, I'll take the Parfum, but I do like the brightness of the EDP for certain situations, although this Le Parfum does perform better. Kind of working our way up towards the top of the video where it's just getting stronger and stronger. And to be fair, kind of now, starting with Acqua di Gio Parfum, they're all pretty close to each other. It's kind of splitting hairs and could change again based off of a variety of factors here. So, you know, we're not putting too much science into this. These are all just very strong up here at the top. But we have Azzaro Forever Wanted Elixir, all about the raspberry and the leather. Their current newest one in the lineup, and quickly became one of my favorites. This, Wanted by Night, Most Wanted Parfum, the 3 best ones. You could, in my opinion, just about skip Regular Wanted and Tonic and even the Most Wanted, which I know that one, the Most Wanted, that one some people might not agree with. I like it, but if you only wanted 3, that's my 3, you know, and if you only wanted 2, you could work it out there, but I would still take, yeah, actually, I don't know what I would do for 2, so never mind. that gets tricky, but I really like this. Raspberry leather, such a great combination, sweet, a little bit more masculine smelling because of the leather, but bear no mind, it is still a very sweet scent from start to finish. This one is a true parfum concentration here, so another very, very strong scent with great projection and longevity. All right, now we're up at the top 2. This are just very, very strong scents. What you're going to notice here between these top 2 is a big price variance. Okay, so we'll get into that. This one is YSL Y Eau de Parfum. I know 2 YSL fragrances in this video, but I felt like Le Parfum, YSL, Myslf Le Parfum is really hot right now, and of course YEDP still is a huge seller. Has the apple, the sage, the geranium, the lavender, and of course the amberwood. I don't really need to describe this one, so I'll leave it at that. I love my YEDP. Now I'm getting them mixed up. Not Myslf. I do love Myslf, but I love YEDP a lot. I really do. And again, I like the Eau de Parfum Intense. I like the new Le Parfum. In terms of popularity and compliment factor and performance, the EDP is still at the top of the list, which is why it's in here. You know, it's just, that's what the people are after. And it works great. You know, it is such a strong scent. It's, of course, an EDP, you know, it's not even a parfum, but yet it kind of performs like one. It has the longevity of a parfum, but the projection of an EDP, because this is a beast mode projector and it doesn't really let off, at least not for quite a while. So this one keeps on kicking. Typically on discounters, $100, $110, maybe sometimes a touch more. You know, it's on the pricier end of things, but, you know, realistically, 100 ml bottle will last you a long time because most people in normal wearing circumstances are only going to need just a few sprays to get the desired results that they're after. So really, really strong performer. And this #1 spot comes in at essentially less than half the price and is also very strong. These are just kind of neck and neck, and it's tricky, and I'll explain that. Versace Dylan Blue. For the money, even now in 2025, heading into 2026, still one of the best blue fragrances you can buy for the money, you know, because again, this is going to be $45 or so. And this is, of course, a 200 milliliter bottle. So you could go for this as well and maybe spend, let's see, probably $65, $70 on this, which when you do the math there, you're getting double the amount for essentially maybe $25 more, maybe $30 more, but might not even be that much. No matter what way you cut it, if you're getting more for less, right? To buy 2 100 ml bottles would cost you more than buying 1 200 ml. So if you think you're gonna wear it a lot, you might wanna get this one. This is another situation though where you're not gonna need a ton of sprays. It's very strong. Now, what makes this one so strong is the incense and the patchouli. Sounds familiar, right? This came out around the time Acqua di Gio Profumo was popping, and so that was a correlation then. They smell nothing alike. Completely different. Dylan Blue is way sweeter. Yes, there is a bit of a C note accord in here, but it's not an aquatic scent in my opinion. It's shower gel, soapy blue with a little bit of a smoke and kind of a surprising amount of a sweetness actually. It's always been on the sweeter end of things, which isn't a bad thing. Really, really nice, really strong performing. Still has citrus off the opening, a ton of ambroxan, right? Everything you would expect. But I love it. Love everything about Versace Dylan Blue. And again, for the money, it's so hard to beat. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Some, really popular compliment pulling fragrances that are ranked by performance. You really can't go wrong with anything in this video, but if you do prioritize performance, basically everything from Acqua di Gio Profumo and up is gonna be the ones that are really, really kicking strong. Links will be down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.